I was the beloved only child of my parents, loved, pampered, and maybe just a little overprotected. Not in a spoiled brat kind of way, but in the my parents did everything for me, including tying my shoelaces till high school kind of way. Until I graduated, my mom or dad would accompany me everywhere. I mean everywhere: school events, family outings, grocery shopping. Honestly, I've never even been to a convenience store by myself. My mom always brought my favorite snacks, and I happily munched away while watching cartoons like a literal house cat. I was good at studying, sure, but when it came to anything physical like sports or extracurriculars, let's just say I existed. I didn't shine, didn't fail. I was just there. Floating. No, wait, except running. I was good at that. I truly thought I'd spend my whole life living under my parents' warm, overprotective wings. That is until I turned 19. New school, new city, dorm life, and for the first time ever alone. My parents, very gently and emotionally, encouraged me to take this step and stand on my own feet. And deep down, I wanted to as well. I wanted to grow. A lot of people used to criticize my parents, saying they were over-pampering me, coddling me too much. But they didn't know what it was like being me. I was a guy, yes, but my appearance often caused confusion. Soft, honey-bright eyes, slightly plump pink lips, delicate features, and silky brown hair that somehow always looked like I just walked out of a shampoo commercial. People often mistook me for a girl or teased me for looking too pretty. But my parents always protected me, always made sure I was safe, happy, and loved. And I'll always love them for that. But they can't protect me forever. Now, it's my time to try. Now, standing in front of the dorm building of the school I got into with perfect scores, I took a deep breath. The building was tall, a little old-looking, but in good shape. Students were already scattered around gossiping, playing, dragging suitcases, and getting to know each other. The sky was a soft blue with birds chirping overhead, and the large playground in front of the building made the place feel open and welcoming. Dragging my embarrassingly heavy suitcase stuffed more with mom-packed snacks than clothes, I struggled up the steps. Just as I gave a dramatic tug, my back bumped into something. Correction. Someone. A rock-hard chest, to be exact. Before I could apologize, a calm, deep, kind voice spoke behind me. Need help? Goosebumps. Literal goosebumps. I turned around and blinked up at the guy towering over me, a full head taller, wearing a simple hoodie and jeans. He had his phone in one hand, which he pocketed as he looked at me with a smile and gentle, surprisingly soft eyes. I nodded nervously. Without another word, he picked up my suitcase with one hand like it was filled with air, not a lifetime supply of snacks, and started walking beside me. My name's Ethan. What's yours? He asked with a grin that could melt ice. I blinked. Oh, I'm also Ethan. Ethan Hills. His eyes widened in delight. No way. Ethan Smith, right here. I've never met another Ethan in real life. Feels like fate already. What's your dorm number? 201. His grin widened. This has to be fate. I'm from 201 too. Guess we're already roommates and long-lost name twins. He laughed, draping his arm over my shoulders like we were besties from birth. I chuckled shyly. His energy was contagious. We walked into the dorm building together. I took a glance around and quietly thanked him for the help. The dorm room was big: 5 beds, 5 study tables, 3 large wardrobes, and 1 huge window letting in golden sunlight. I instantly claimed the bed beside the window, unpacking my stuff while taking it all in. Soon, Ethan introduced me to the other 2 dorm mates. This is Harry, he said, pointing to a guy with curly hair and mischief in his eyes. And that's Mark, a quieter but warm-looking guy who gave a small wave. You both have the same name? Harry asked, ruffling my hair. Cute. We've got ourselves a dorm baby, Mark added, leaning in with a grin. Finally, dorm life won't be boring, Harry said, teasing. At least now I'll have something cute to look at instead of your 2 ugly mugs. Ethan and Mark groaned in protest while I rolled my eyes at their teasing, but inside, I was already starting to feel safe. Like I somehow belonged here. Just us 4 for now. Though the 5th bed was still empty. I glanced at it, wondering who the last dorm mate would be. If fate brought me 3 protective brothers, what could possibly be next? While fixing my bed and chatting with the others, I quickly realized how insanely friendly all 3 of them were. Ethan Smith had already started treating me like his adorable little brother, while Harry and Mark took turns calling me baby dorm mate, or Cutie Jr. I rolled my eyes, but honestly, it felt kind of nice. I started unpacking my clothes, trying to figure out which wardrobe belonged to whom. I peeked into the first door, saw it empty, and started neatly placing my folded shirts inside. Just then, the dorm room door creaked open. A strong scent instantly filled the air, cedarwood mixed with something minty and masculine. It was oddly familiar. I instinctively turned toward the door. My heart promptly skipped a beat. There he was, Kevin Crowns. Standing tall at 6'3", looking like he casually stepped out of a fashion magazine. His black hair was just the right amount of messy, his white shirt tucked into black jeans like it was styled that way. One hand gripped a sleek suitcase, the other shoved into his pocket. Calm, composed, effortlessly cool, he gave a small nod toward the others, introducing himself with only his name. Kevin. Simple, like he was too elite for full sentences. Then, his gaze landed on me, and stayed there for a second longer than necessary. His face didn't change, no recognition, no surprise, just that same unreadable expression, calm and cool as ice, as he walked toward the bed opposite mine, by the window. I stood there awkwardly, clutching a stack of socks like they were sacred scrolls. Did he not recognize me? We weren't in the same class back in high school, but our classrooms were side by side. Every day when school ended, I'd catch little glimpses of him sitting alone at his desk, silent, distant, almost untouchable. He was already famous back then. The mysterious rich boy everyone gossiped about. I'd always wondered what he was thinking. We only ever exchanged words once at the teacher's office. He was struggling with a mountain of assignments, and without thinking, I asked if he wanted help. He just stared at me long, hard before giving me a small portion and nodding slightly. That was it, our grand interaction. I didn't think he'd remember me. I mean, why would he? But still, out of all the people in the world, he ends up being our fifth dorm mate. Seriously, I sighed quietly, placing my socks in the drawer and glancing at him once more. He had already started unpacking, movements neat and smooth. Still cold, maybe colder than before. Guess the frost level went up with age. My thoughts were cut off when the wardrobe next to mine creaked open. Kevin was there, silently placing his clothes inside like a scene from a calm indie film, composed, efficient, and annoyingly attractive. Trying to be polite, I cleared my throat and said, "Hi, I'm Ethan." Without even glancing at me, he replied with a low, "Kevin." That was it, no smile, no follow-up, just Kevin. He continued, folding his shirts like the conversation hadn't happened. I stood there blinking awkwardly, then quietly closed my wardrobe door like I hadn't just experienced social rejection in 4K. Before the silence could settle too deeply, Ethan came up behind me and wrapped an arm around my shoulder. "We're heading to the cafeteria. Wanna come, lil bro?" I nodded, happy for the distraction and kind of excited to see the rest of the campus. Ethan turned to Kevin. "You coming, man?" Kevin didn't even look up. No, one word, short and cold. He pulled a small notebook, maybe a diary, from his bag, sat on his bed, and began writing in it with the kind of intensity usually reserved for villains in dramas. I tried not to stare, but, come on. What was he writing? Battle plans, poetry, a novel, an angry letter to the world? Before I could spiral further, Ethan ruffled my hair with a grin. "You've got the softest hair ever, bro." He then proceeded to hug me like I was a favorite plush toy. "I swear I'll protect you until the last day of school." I giggled despite myself, squirming in his hold. "Stop treating me like a baby." I tried to sound tough. "Cool, like a man with mysterious abs or something." "You look like one," Harry smirked. "We wouldn't mind pampering you like one, honestly," Mark added, patting my shoulder like I was a proud pet. Determined to reclaim my image, I puffed out my chest and flexed my completely non-existent biceps. "I'm a tough guy, okay? If anything happens, I'll protect all of you." Silence. And then, all three, Ethan, Harry, and Mark, burst into uncontrollable laughter, practically wheezing. I gave them a dramatic eye roll, but I smiled too. While they laughed, my eyes flicked back to Kevin. He hadn't laughed, he hadn't even looked up. Still writing, still calm, still mysterious. What was up with this guy? I turned away and followed the others out, still feeling the chill of Kevin's silence lingering in the back of my mind. The cafeteria was loud, chaotic. People bumped into each other like it was a concert instead of lunchtime. I tried to navigate my way in, but Ethan acted like my personal bodyguard, pulling me to the side every time someone got too close. Honestly, it was a little embarrassing, but also kind of sweet. Despite the noise and crowd, I felt strangely at ease with Ethan, Harry, and Mark. They were funny, warm, and weirdly protective. I laughed more in those 20 minutes than I had in weeks. At one point, I took out my phone and opened the school forum, curious to see what people were saying about the new semester. As expected, everyone was thirsting over the hot guys. Pictures flooded the homepage, mostly candid shots. Half the forum was simping hard over Ethan, Harry, and Mark. There was one of Ethan working out, sweat-soaked and flexing without meaning to. He honestly looked like a Greek statue mid-rep. Harry and Mark had photos from the art department, Harry hunched over a painting, Mark sketching something intensely. They looked like aesthetic anime boys in their natural habitat. And then, of course, at the very top, Kevin Crowns. There was only one blurry photo of him, probably taken during basketball practice. He wore a half-sleeve jersey, beads of sweat visible even in the low quality. He was drinking water, his face turned slightly, yet even through the blur, his beauty was unreal. It hit me then, I'm literally sharing a dorm with the school's most popular guys. As I scrolled, another post caught my attention and made my heart skip. There was a picture of me. It was from earlier when Ethan helped me with my suitcase. I trailed behind him like an obedient puppy. The caption had nothing, but the comments, my face burned. Who's that? He's so cute. Why are all the guys this year either hot as hell or cute as heaven? But then the tone shifted. He looks like a princess twink to me. What's up with being pretty when you're a guy? Something inside me cracked. My chest felt tight, like I was being called out just for existing. My smile faded. Ethan, what happened? Mark asked, suddenly serious. Are you okay? You didn't like the food? Ethan added, frowning. Let me see. Harry leaned over and snatched the phone before I could react. Wait, hey, give it back. Too late. All three of them were reading the post. Their expressions darkened. Who dares say nonsense about my baby brother? Ethan barked. Our baby brother, Harry corrected. No one talks about him like that. No one. Mark added. Hey, I'm not a baby. I tried to defend myself, but paused as I watched them all whip out their phones with mission mode energy. Confused, I peeked over Ethan's arm and saw the forum again. My heart skipped as I read the comments they were now posting under the insult. Mark, funny how you think beauty has a gender. Must be exhausting living in 1922. Harry, why does it bother you so much that someone can be both pretty and powerful? Ethan, your comment screams jealousy from someone who's never been called attractive. Sit down. In less than a minute, the original comment was buried slashed into oblivion by a trio of chaotic Avengers. No one bullies our baby, Harry declared with a smirk. Ethan and Mark both nodded like bodyguards on duty. I opened my mouth to argue, but laughter burst out instead. Warm, unfiltered laughter. Somehow, I had ended up with the best company I could have asked for. After we finished eating, the guys had work to do, so I ended up heading back to the dorm alone. As I walked, I called my parents, who fired off a million questions. How was I settling in? How were my dorm mates? How was everything in general? They sounded so worried and tense. I reassured them, trying to stay calm, and promised everything was fine before ending the call. When I entered the dorm, I found Kevin sitting at his desk, headphones on, reading a book. He really didn't seem like the type who wanted to talk. Maybe he was just shy, or maybe he was just awkward. Either way, I figured I could start a conversation. That might make him feel more comfortable. Kevin, I called out softly. He didn't respond immediately, but after a second, he pulled one earbud out, glancing up at me. His face was calm, like he was waiting for me to speak. You didn't go to the cafeteria. Aren't you hungry? I brought some snacks, do you want some? I asked, trying to keep it casual. No, thanks, he replied simply, then put his earbud back in, grabbing the same diary from before to write something down. I shrugged, looking away. Why did he have to be so cold? He should consider himself lucky I even offered him some snacks. I really wished we could talk and get along like the others, but I figured it wasn't going to happen if he didn't want it. 2 days passed, and soon, the comment that had bothered me was deleted. Nothing like that ever came up again, well, not that I could see, thanks to Ethan, Harry, and Mark keeping watch. It made me happy, but at the same time, it was a little irritating how they treated me like a baby. When classes finally began, I was a mix of nervous and excited. It was my first day of college, after all. Ethan, Harry, and Mark all had early classes, so they left before me. When it was time for mine, I wasn't sure where to go. Kevin was packing his bag calmly, as always, wearing a simple t-shirt and jeans. I noticed he was putting that diary into his bag again. He must really treasure it. I stood there, holding my bag, and finally spoke up. Kevin. He looked at me, nodding for me to continue. I'm not sure where my classes are. I don't want to get lost. Can I follow you? I asked, feeling a little awkward. He gave a soft hum, then slung his bag over his shoulder and walked out without a word. I quickly adjusted my bag, tied my shoes just to make sure I wouldn't trip or embarrass myself like I did in high school, and ran to catch up with him. Kevin was already walking briskly ahead, his pace fast and steady. It was like he was on a mission. Was he mad at me? Did he not want me to follow? As I wondered, someone bumped into me, making me stumble. But before I could fall, a hand shot out, grabbing my wrist. I was surprised to see it was Kevin. "Watch where you're going, twink," a guy muttered, eyes glued to his phone. Before I could even react, Kevin's voice, dark and low, sliced through the air. "Before blaming others, try watching where you're walking, not your notifications," he said, his tone making the guy visibly flinch. The guy stammered a quick apology and quickly walked away. Kevin let go of my wrist without a word, continuing to walk ahead. "Thank you," I said quietly, not sure if he heard me. He hummed again, not looking back, but walked ahead, his pace unwavering. I quickened my steps to match him. I wasn't sure why he walked so fast. Was it because he had longer legs than me? I had long legs, too, but they weren't quite as long as his. Still, I was starting to get used to walking at his side. Even if he didn't talk much, I felt strangely safe with him. The classroom was spacious, with fresh air circulating through it, and students were scattered around, gossiping and talking. Most eyes, of course, were on Kevin. He walked in like he was royalty, carrying an air of elegance that made him stand out. He sat down at an empty spot, and I stood there awkwardly, unsure where to go. Kevin glanced up at me, as if silently asking what I was doing. Then, without missing a beat, he spoke. "Sit down." I blinked in surprise but immediately sat down, feeling a little awkward. I hadn't expected we could sit together, and for some reason, it felt nice. Something new stirred in my heart, and it was a feeling I couldn't quite explain. It felt good, though. The class went by smoothly. We didn't talk much, except for when I had a question. I asked about a problem, and Kevin explained it in a few short words, but it was clear and easy to understand. After the class, people immediately surrounded him, trying to talk to him. But as always, he remained cold and distant, avoiding their attempts. He stood up, ready to leave. I was about to follow him, but by the time I looked up, he was already walking out the door. I pouted, a little disappointed, but soon after, some other students approached me. "Hey, cutie, let's exchange numbers. We can't chat all night," one girl said with a wink. Confused, I frowned. "But I don't know you. Dad said not to share numbers with someone I don't know." The girl blinked, speechless. The others around her looked at me like I'd just spoken a foreign language. Then, they burst into laughter, making me feel even more awkward. Did I say something wrong?" I asked, feeling a little embarrassed. One of them sneered. "Ha, what are you? Daddy's prince?" I didn't know whether it was a compliment or an insult. My dad does call me his prince, but was that a bad thing? Before I could process it any further, a cold voice cut through the air, sharp and biting. "At least he has one. Some of you don't," Kevin said, his tone so harsh it made the group go silent. He then turned to look at me. "Do you want to stay here forever?" he asked, his voice even colder now. I gulped, suddenly feeling very small. I quickly stood up, slightly bowing my head to the others as I rushed to follow him. "You were so harsh there," I whispered as I caught up with him, finally understanding what he meant. "Some deserve it," Kevin replied without a hint of emotion, his gaze still cold and unbothered. Reaching the dorm, Kevin immediately plopped down at his desk, working on his notes. Meanwhile, Harry and Mark grabbed me, pulling me toward their bed and showering me with snacks they had bought for me. They started showing me the game they were playing. After a while, I asked, "Where's he?" "Who?" Mark asked, his attention still on the screen. "Him," I said, glancing toward the desk where Kevin was. Harry and Mark exchanged looks, then grinned mischievously. "Ooh, are you missing Ethan? Are you so shy that you can't even say his name?" Mark wiggled his eyebrows, making me furrow my own, staring at him in disbelief. Just then, a loud thud echoed through the room, and we all turned to see Kevin calmly picking up a thick book that had fallen from his desk. As he bent down, his eyes met mine for just a second. There was something flickering in them, almost like a question or realization, but before I could make sense of it, he was back to his usual cool, composed self, sitting back in his chair. I blinked, then shook my head and smacked Harry and Mark on their heads. He and I share the same name, so it's kind of awkward for me to say his name. What nonsense are you two spouting? Harry and Mark just groaned, rubbing their foreheads. He's out for basketball practice, Harry explained after a moment. I nodded, still glancing at Kevin from the corner of my eye. I thought my days would go as normal, simple and easy, with my parents calling every now and then to check up on me. But no, they hit me with the mandatory military boot camp. It was compulsory, so I had to join. My body wasn't exactly built for this kind of thing. The uniform was already way too big, like a tight cloth on me. I had to wake up at 7 a.m. Maybe the school learned that I was living too peacefully, so they hit me with this. Now, I stood on the field, sweaty and tired before we even started. Ethan, Harry, Mark, and Kevin were all in their uniforms. Damn, they all looked so good in them. Especially Kevin, who looked so fine, all serious and composed. Meanwhile, I looked like a duck in human clothes, barely fitting into the uniform. Harry and Mark laughed at me while Ethan also laughed, fanning me with his cap. I sulked, kicking them all, then looked at Kevin, who was silent. He handed me a cold water bottle. I took it gratefully and smiled at him, thanking him. Soon, the coach came tall, strict, and intimidating, making us all line up. I stood between Harry and Mark, with Ethan behind and Kevin in front. He stood tall, without any break, like he was born for this. We all followed the coach's orders, and then he told us to run laps. Ethan, Mark, and Harry were already being dramatic, not wanting to do it. Look at you three, crying like babies, I said, arms crossed. I was good at running. I could handle this. Seeing the others running, including Kevin, I pulled up my loose pants and started running fast, passing everyone. Yes, it was hard and hot, but I was good at running, maybe because of my slim figure. Look at him, that's my baby brother. Look at him running so well, Ethan shouted, loud enough for me to hear while I was running. I rolled my eyes, he was always too dramatic. I turned to run backward, just to look at Ethan being dramatic, when my eyes locked with Kevin's. He was walking just ahead of me, staring back at me with that cool, composed look. It felt like a slow-motion movie scene while we ran, eyes locked, though he was running forward and I was running backward. He was calm, looking at me until his eyes flickered slightly as if to warn me. Look out, he said. Immediately, I turned, realizing I had been running off track and was headed straight for a tree. Ah, I screamed, losing my balance and crashing face first into the tree. My legs and arms spread out, and I fell to the ground on my back, like something out of a cartoon. Ouch, it hurt. Was this my punishment for trying to act cool? I heard Ethan, Harry, and Mark shouting in worry as they ran toward me. Baby, are you okay? Ethan asked, kneeling beside me. I don't know, does seeing stars before my eyes count as being okay? I asked, my eyes hazy and my head spinning. Without a word, Kevin immediately knelt beside me. He gently picked me up in a princess carry and calmly walked me toward the nurse's room. I blinked as the mattress hit my back, finally feeling some relief. I could hear how overdramatic Ethan, Mark, and Harry were, running around trying to call the nurse, who wasn't even present. Meanwhile, Kevin was calm. I could see the worry and discomfort in his eyes as he sat beside me, carefully tucking a piece of my hair behind my ear and treating my forehead. That's when I realized I had a wound on my forehead. His touch was gentle, his gaze soft and focused, not wanting to hurt me at all. He applied cold balm to the wound before wrapping it with a bandage. Just then, the nurse came in and praised Kevin for his work, handing me some meds, which I took before falling into a deep sleep. When I opened my eyes again, I was met with a flurry of voices. Ethan, Harry, and Mark were going crazy, asking if I was okay or if I wanted anything to eat. I sighed at their over-the-top concern before glancing at Kevin. He was talking to the nurse about my health, his demeanor calm and collected. A warmth spread through my chest. Maybe Kevin really didn't hate me as much as I had thought. 2 days had passed since that day. Ethan, Mark, and Harry hardly let me run anymore. And if they did, only after I whined and begged, they'd stick close, supervising me like bodyguards to make sure I didn't crash into a tree again. Obviously. And Kevin, he'd changed too. He was actually more attentive now. He responded when I spoke, he looked at me when I talked, unlike before. I couldn't lie, I was pleased. The way they all treated me now made me realize something. I used to think only my parents would ever pamper me, but here, I found people who did too. 3 overprotective brothers: Ethan, Harry, and Mark. But Kevin, I didn't know why, but I didn't want to call him a brother. My heart just refused. Maybe something more, a best friend, I wasn't sure yet, but one thing was certain, we were getting closer. Until one night, something happened. Something that changed everything I thought I knew about Kevin. It was the start of a new month. Exam season. They had all planned an all-nighter. I joined in too, determined to stay awake and study with them. I even tried hard to keep my eyes open, until I eventually dozed off with a pen still in my mouth. Apparently, I became the center of attention. Mark got up and draped his hoodie over me. Ethan, of course, took a picture, no doubt for blackmail. Harry laughed but quickly hushed the others. Shish, don't wake him, he looks like a sleepy marshmallow. I could hear them faintly, still half asleep and too tired to move, but just when I was about to get up and punch them all, I felt arms gently lift me. A warm, earthy scent, cedarwood, something minty, it was him. Kevin. He carried me effortlessly and laid me gently on my bed. My body wanted to stay still, but my heart, it was racing. Ethan smirked. Look, I see dudes literally carrying his heart. Mark added with a small snort, dude, how long are you gonna keep hiding? Kevin didn't reply, he just stared down at my sleeping face, brushing my hair back slowly, carefully, like I was made of something fragile. The others scoffed and returned to their books, but under the blanket, my hand clenched the sheets tightly as my eyes snapped open. My heart was pounding so loud I swore it echoed in the silence. What the hell? What did Ethan mean? He's carrying his heart. What was Kevin hiding? Why was my heart hoping it was something more? The next day, I sat on my bed, textbooks open, but my mind was far from studying. Last night's events kept replaying in my head like a loop I couldn't shut off. Ethan, Harry, and Mark had gone out. Kevin was still in the room, sitting on his bed with his usual diary in hand, writing quietly like always. I found myself staring at him. His side profile, so sharp yet soft. Those long, elegant fingers moving steadily over the pages. He looked cold, untouchable, but last night, his touch had been so warm, so gentle. The contrast made my heart beat faster the longer I looked at him. That whole day passed in a haze of confusing emotions. What was this strange flutter in my chest? Why couldn't I stop thinking about him? Night came. The 4 of them sat at their desks, Harry and Mark doodling in their sketchbooks, Ethan playing something on his phone, Kevin lost in his diary again. I hugged my pillow, sitting on my bed, eyes lingering on all of them before I finally spoke. I have a question. Instantly, Ethan paused his game. Harry and Mark looked up from their sketches. Kevin stopped writing, turning his head slightly to look at me. All 4 pairs of eyes were on me now, curious. I shrunk a bit under their stares, my voice dropping. What does it mean when your heart beats really loudly? I asked softly. They blinked. Harry, Mark, and Ethan rushed over in a second, hovering around me with concerned expressions. Wait, are you sick? Harry asked quickly. Is it your chest? Mark added. Do we need to call someone? Ethan asked. I waved my hands. No, I'm not sick, it only happens when I look at a certain person. My heart beats really fast and I feel shy. I lowered my gaze. There was a beat of silence before Ethan gasped dramatically. That means you're in love, he declared, grabbing my shoulders with wide eyes. My baby brother is in love. My eyes widened. Love. All 3 nodded excitedly. Who is it? Tell us. Harry grinned. I'll be your wingman, Mark offered eagerly. Wait, let's see if this person even deserves your feelings first, Ethan said seriously, crossing his arms. I hesitated, not sure what to say, but before I could do anything, Kevin abruptly stood up. His chair screeched, nearly toppling over. He didn't say a word. Expression unreadable, face blank, but something felt off. The air shifted. He walked out of the dorm without a glance back. I blinked, confused. Ethan, Harry, and Mark all stared at the door. Oh shit, Mark whispered. I forgot. Ethan and Harry slowly nodded. I turned to them, eyes narrowing. Forget what? They all laughed nervously, clearly avoiding my gaze. Quote. Guys. Their silence said more than their awkward chuckles. And suddenly I wasn't just confused. I was curious. What were they hiding? What did Kevin hear? And why did my heart ache the moment he walked away? Since that day Kevin grew distant. He didn't avoid me completely, but he barely spoke. His coldness returned, worse than before. I couldn't understand what I'd done wrong. It hurt seeing him slip further away. Then, one afternoon, a senior approached me out of nowhere, smiling as he invited me to join a study group. Excited by the idea of making new friends, I immediately agreed. As I followed the senior down the hallway, I texted our dorm group chat, guys. I'm going to study with some seniors. I want to make more friends. Wish me luck. Within seconds, the chat exploded. Ethan. What seniors? Harry. Send location. Right now. Mark. I'm already outside your class. Kevin. Don't move. I'm coming. I blinked at Kevin's direct message. Fast, stern, unsettlingly serious. I was about to respond when I finally looked up and realized this wasn't a classroom building. We were near a bar. Confused, I slowed down. Wait, isn't this? Before I could finish, the senior pulled me gently inside and handed me a glass of something. Is this juice? I asked, eyeing the drink. He smiled and nodded. Just as I lifted it to my lips, a hand swiftly snatched the glass from mine. Kevin. He stood beside me, fingers brushing mine gently, but his eyes were dark and furious as they stared down the senior. It's not right to lie about studying just to bring him here, Kevin said in a voice that could freeze fire. The other three weren't far behind. Ethan's grin was sharp. You tried to trick my baby brother. That's brave. Harry cracked his knuckles, stepping forward dramatically. Or just really stupid. Or both, Mark added, deadpan. Kevin didn't blink. Next time, there won't be words. Just the end of you. The senior paled, backing away. Kevin grabbed my wrist. Not rough, not forceful, but firm, warm. He led me out of the bar with the others following close behind. Geez, why are you guys being so dramatic? You're acting like bodyguards or something, I pouted. The three exchanged a look then glanced at Kevin. A silent agreement passed between them. We'll go buy some snacks, Mark said casually. And just like that, they disappeared, leaving Kevin and me walking alone on the quiet roadside. He still held my hand. His grip steady, protective, warm. After a pause, he finally spoke. You need to be more careful. You can't just follow anyone. I looked down, slightly embarrassed. Right, I just thought maybe I could make new friends. Kevin was silent for a moment before he said, why do you need more? Aren't those three enough? They're more like my dramatic brothers, I muttered. Besides, I don't know where you stand. He glanced at me. Do you want to be my brother too? I asked, half teasing but half serious. Kevin stopped walking. Did I ever say that? His voice was quiet, but there was something in it, something deep and unfamiliar. No, I replied softly. Then what are we? Do you even like me? You don't remember me. You don't seem to care. You're wrong. His words hit me like a gust of wind. We stopped. Kevin turned to face me, eyes filled with something raw and unspoken. I've always remembered, he said, voice low, trembling with emotion. From stolen glances in high school hallways, to now. I've only ever cared about you. Always. Only you. My breath caught. What? Then, for the first time, I saw it, his real smile. Soft, almost bashful, filled with so much affection it made my chest ache. He gently cupped my face with both hands, holding me as if I were something precious. You just never noticed me the way I always noticed you, silly, he whispered, so close I could feel his breath on my skin. My heart pounded violently. He stepped back just a little, eyes dropping. But it's okay, you're already in love with someone else, right? I blinked, and before I could stop myself, I blurted, no. I only said those things to be sure of my feelings, and I feel that way only with you. My face flushed red. I looked away, embarrassed. Kevin's eyes widened slightly, surprised by my words, then his expression melted. He smiled again. Leaning forward, he pressed a soft kiss on my hair, nuzzling me gently. Let's go back, he said quietly. Then he laced his fingers with mine and led the way, our hands entwined. I followed behind, heart racing, cheeks burning but smiling all the same. Reaching the dorms, the other three were already out. Kevin sat on his desk chair and suddenly pulled out his diary. The same diary I always saw him writing in. I glanced at it, and he eyed me, signaling for me to take it. "You want me to read it?" I asked. He nodded. I hesitantly took it, but then he held my wrist and pulled me down, making me land on his lap. My mind and heart went wild, his thighs thick and strong beneath me, surprisingly more comfortable than I expected. One hand behind my back rested on the table, the other curled around my waist. He watched me silently as I slowly opened the notebook. The yellowish pages were thick, worn with time. He had clearly been using it for a long time. My mind raced as I read the first page from years ago. Every page was filled with feelings, and they were all about someone. My eyes widened. This diary is all about him. The only one I loved thinking about, writing about. The first time I saw him, he looked so different, shone so different from every other person. I wasn't sure what it was, but seeing him felt good. We had different classes, yet he always managed to catch my eye. He's so cute. We never talked until that day I was carrying a pile of assignment papers. He came, cute as always, asking if he could help. While others didn't care, he was the only one who did. I acted cool, but inside my heart was going crazy. I gave him a small portion of the assignments. He happily took it, smiled widely at me, and walked ahead. I followed beside him because I couldn't take my eyes off him. He looks so much like someone I want to protect and pamper with my life. Before I knew it, I was obsessed. My chest fluttered whenever I saw him smile. It hurt whenever he was close to someone else. I legit forgot my own existence when our eyes met. Even for a second, I was sure he didn't know me, but I was fine just standing away, watching him, pretending I didn't care about the world. After graduation, I never thought I'd see him again. But my heart ached too. I guess fate pitied me. The first day at the dorms, I saw him walking behind another guy who helped him with his suitcase. My heart felt full. I never knew I could feel such emotions, so happy, so complete. I wanted to know which dorm he was in. And guess what? As soon as I entered mine, I saw him. We were in the same dorms. I felt like a child who just got new toys. My eyes didn't want to look away from him, but I acted normal. When he introduced himself, said his name, I wanted to say, "I know. Of course, I know you," but I still acted cool. I was scared, nervous, awkward, shy. I knew I'd mess up if I looked into those beautiful, innocent eyes again. Damn, it hurts, but it feels so good. I thought I'd stop writing about him, but I couldn't. I remember him, think of him every second. And now seeing him in the dorms, I continued writing more, every cute little act of his. Writing it all gave me happiness I never knew I could feel. Today, he said he likes someone. My heart ached. I never knew pain could feel like this. Who does he like? I almost broke right there, so I quietly left the dorm. I knew I never had a chance. He must be scared of me, thinking I hate him. I'm just unsure how to communicate. I never had to talk to anyone. I never thought of it. But him, I want to talk to him a lot. But I don't know how. I feel scared, nervous. My heart hurts knowing he likes someone else. Thinking he'll belong to someone else hurts like hell. Can't I ever make him mine? There wasn't anything more. My heart was pounding, my mind blank. Kevin took the diary from me and, grabbing his pen, wrote right under that last part, "Yes, I did." And now, today, here he is, in my arms. He smiled as I stared at him, my face burning, heart racing. I quickly covered my face in embarrassment. Before I could say anything else, the door burst open. Harry, Ethan, and Mark stood frozen at the entrance. What the hell is going on? Ethan blinked. Kevin, are you bullying our baby? Mark exclaimed. Kevin's gentle smile turned into a tired sigh as if they had interrupted his moment. I waved my hands quickly. No, he wasn't bullying me. Stop making a scene. If not bullying, then what's this? They all looked at our position, and I realized I was still on Kevin's lap. I panicked, trying to move, but he tightened his hold around my waist, not letting me go. Don't disturb, Kevin said calmly, now wrapping both arms around my waist. It didn't take long for the three to realize what was going on. No way, you two are together already, Ethan shouted. I blushed deep red as Kevin confidently nodded. My baby, he didn't force you, right? Mark asked, while the other two nodded seriously, throwing glares at Kevin. I shook my head shyly. No, I like him too. The three gasped dramatically, going all, ah, while Kevin smiled proudly. But nothing changed after that. They pulled me in for movie night under the sheets, snuggling between Harry and Mark while Ethan chose a movie. Just because you're together doesn't mean I'm letting my baby go, Ethan pouted. Harry and Mark nodded in agreement, making me giggle. I felt warm, safe, almost sleepy. Kevin walked in after his shower, wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt. He froze the moment he saw me smushed between them. "The hell?" he muttered. Then, without a word, he tossed his towel aside, walked over, grabbed my arms, and lifted me up like I weighed nothing. "Hey, we were watching movies," Ethan shouted. Later, Kevin rolled his eyes. Harry laughed. "Jealous much?" Kevin replied, "You've had enough cuddles. He's officially mine now, so you can't just do anything with him. Keep that in mind." I snuggled into his arms, mumbling, "My snacks are there." "You'll get better snacks in my bed," he said, placing me gently down and pulling out a bunch of snacks, making me giggle in delight. I leaned up and kissed the corner of his lips. "Thank you." He stared at me, surprised, before smiling warmly. Days passed. Kevin turned out to be way clingier than I expected. Always begging for kisses and hugs, but he never crossed a line. He was constant and gentle, though very much possessive. He hated leaving me alone with anyone else. The others constantly complained, especially during our usual dramatic banters. Ethan would dramatically claim that Kevin was ruining our brothership blood, saying, "Love is destroying our sacred bond." I rolled my eyes every time. One day, I told my parents about Kevin. To my surprise, they didn't seem shocked at all. They said they already had a hunch, and they were happy for me. My mom, especially, adored all of my dorm mates. She even teamed up with Ethan, Mark, and Harry on pampering and protecting me. But Kevin didn't need a team. He did it all naturally, without words, without thinking. I had never felt what it was like to be the center of someone's world, until Kevin. There was a basketball match. All four of them, Ethan, Harry, Mark, and Kevin, were on the same team. Together, they were on fire, almost single-handedly winning the game with cheers and screams echoing through the court. When the match ended, all four of them walked up to me, sweaty and smug. I stood there holding 5 water bottles. I handed 3 cold bottles to the usual drama trio, Ethan, Mark, and Harry, then handed a cold bottle plus a sports drink to Kevin, shyly. Ethan gasped. "This isn't fair. He's getting extra drinks just 'cause he's your boyfriend." Outrage. Mark clutched his chest dramatically. "Are we not your brothers? You're betraying us." Harry pretended to faint. They were right. Love makes people blind. I rolled my eyes. "You should be grateful I even brought you water. Keep acting like this and I'll take those back too." Instantly, they hugged their bottles like lifelines. Then I turned to Kevin. He smiled down at me and patted my head, leaning in to kiss my forehead softly. As expected, the other 3 groaned in unison. Drama kings. But my heart, it felt full. Kevin held my hand, his fingers brushing against mine before intertwining them gently. "Do you want to go on another date?" he asked, voice low, smile warm. I nodded instantly, feeling heat rise in my cheeks. Our fingers stayed locked, and for the first time in my life, everything felt just right.